right. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Kent, and I will be talking to you about code coverage in Xcode 7 and better kind of behaving bots in Xcode Server 5. So these are new features in the forthcoming release of Xcode 7 and its matching Xcode server. But first, I work for Screen Interaction out in Kista. Some of you may know me from there. We design services and products, usually digital, and the digital ones we build when we can, with a heavy focus on usability and real-world testing, testing our designs and our applications in the real world with real customers. If you find that interesting, we're always interested to talk to people. All right. Now, on to the subject of this evening. Code coverage in Xcode 7. And I'll start with a quote. Because who unit tests iOS apps, right? This was Matt Thompson, actually, at CocoaHeads a couple of years ago at Spotify. At least this is what I remember him saying. I don't actually have a video, so I'm going to say that that's a quote. So, as this whole talk is predicated on the idea that you guys are interested in unit testing, how many of you write unit tests? Woo! That's good. All right. How many of you continuously integrate your tests and run them on check-in? Excellent. How many of you write automated UI tests? Cool. All right. Pretty good. I write a lot of unit tests, and I continuously integrate them as well. I don't write so many UI tests at the moment, but maybe that'll change when Xcode 7 goes gold. And actually, I've been pushed into writing tests by a client that I've been working for the last year and a half, who value tests a lot. But in that time, I've really come to appreciate the value of unit tests as a way of verifying that your code works. And also, it gives your code flexibility when you come to refactor. And also, I should qualify this, that actually in the context that I quote Matt from, he was joking. This was in the context of aiming for 100% code coverage for AF networking too. All right, so code coverage, didn't we have this already? We did, actually. We did have code coverage in Xcode before, but you had to dive 10 levels deep beneath your derived data folder, and that sucked. And then you loaded up cover story, and then you got lots of red things, and it wasn't good. It could be made to work. There are different CI organizations like Travis and different CI products which do run code coverage on Objective-C, but getting it to work locally was a really high barrier to entry, and it didn't work with Swift at all. There was no way to do unit tests in Swift. So Xcode 7 brings the new hotness. Sorry, we missed a slide. Hello. All right. So the new stuff we have in Xcode 7, we have Objective-C and Swift coverage. We have iOS, Mac, and frameworks, and probably watch targets. I actually haven't tried. We get coverage results inside Xcode, because as we know, everything should be inside Xcode. We get bar charts, and we get integration with the Xcode server, and trend graphs, and all kinds of great stuff. All right, so what am I actually talking about? So code coverage, for any of you that don't know, I'll just back up a little bit. Code coverage is a measure used to describe the degree to which the source code of a program is tested by a particular test suite. A program with high code coverage has been more thoroughly tested and has a lower chance of containing software bugs than a program with low code coverage. So more is better, right? Yeah, with one really big asterisk. In Xcode, code coverage is measured as how much of your application runs when your tests run. This doesn't necessarily mean you're actually validating any of that code that's running. It just means that it's being run. And we'll come back to that. So why am I talking? So because code coverage is an excellent way of figuring out when you don't have tests covering some area of code, and it is a useful guideline for how much of your app is being looked at when your tests run. But like all statistics, I would encourage you to handle it with care and not enforce it on your team, perhaps. All right, so on to the meat of the thing. How do you make code coverage work in Xcode 7? Well, it's super easy. This is brilliant. First, you need to have some unit tests. Then you tick the gather coverage data in your build scheme. You run your tests, and then you look at the blue lines. Brilliant. So let's see if I can make this work. Demo. Right. Hop. Not that one. We do indeed need this one. Cool. All right. Everything's a little bit tiny, but we'll see. So we have a project here in the current Xcode beta, which hopefully will not be in beta for much longer. Now, step one, have some unit tests. Unit tests, yes, we have some unit tests there. It happens I've already run them, and I know that they will pass. What a bit of luck. OK, step two, tick the gather coverage data. So I go to my scheme, and I will edit my scheme. And in the test options here, there is a new thing, which says gather coverage data. It's a single checkbox, and once checked, I'll gather coverage data. So now I will run my tests again. Product test. It'll fire up the simulator. Not rebuild the whole thing from scratch. Success. Test succeeded. And my tests are all still green. Yay. All right. Once you've done tests with the test coverage enabled checkbox, you can go to the test navigator, or report navigator, and I can look at my tests. And I can see here that all my tests are green. Great, huh? And I can remember that I forgot to turn on Wi-Fi. Wait a second. I'll come back to you. All right, so we now have a new heading up the top here. Test, coverage, and logs. You go to coverage. It will say no coverage data. And then a moment later, it will give you all my coverage data. Ah, I love you too, Xcode. Thanks. How about some more ones? New. Test. Ooh, that one didn't have any. All right. Well. Oh. No, unfortunately not, because I do not have an Ethernet socket, so that won't work. But this will. All right, let's try this again. So if we do this, and my test run, and that one comes up, and this happens, and tests go past, and then we get a new build up here, and we get tests, and oh, the coverage data. Oh. I guess this is where I should say something about, like, you know, this is why they're not shipping it yet. I'm fully going to blame Xcode beta, whatever this is, beta 6, for this. It has one more go. Asterisk, dev, coverage. I did turn on this for the correct one. Does anybody see what I'm doing wrong here? No, 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 yes. Product, test. OK, great. Well, I will move swiftly on then. So what you should see here is a lot of blue lines. Unfortunately, sadly not at this minute. Yeah. No, you do not need to have that on. The marker in build settings, formerly known as generate code coverage, is now generate legacy coverage files or something. It's no longer needed to make this work. Turning on off the gather code coverage thing is what is needed to work. If I run it without that, the next build will not have a coverage marker at the top. It will go away, like that, thus signifying. All right. Okay, so get exactly one more go. Come on, come on. All right, fine. So, no, you don't need any of this stuff. It should just work. On the plus side, okay, so this is kind of nice. So despite it not actually giving me any feedback on my test running, I do actually have the little markers showing which code is run. All right, so when you have your tests running, and it gives you code coverage data, as well as the blue lines that you can imagine are here in a long list, when you go into your code, you get little markers on the right-hand side. You get this new things which say, that piece of code was run when your test ran, and not only that, it ran 5 times. If you can see, there's a tiny little off-screen 5 that you can just see on the edge there. So you can see those for all of your code, and you can